So I'm chatting today with a legend in DJ and clubland circles. But for anyone who may happen to not be into all that stuff, don't switch off, stick around, because we'll be getting into lots of important and interesting stuff today. You don't have to be an old grizzled raver from the early 90s to take away something from this show, hopefully. So it's welcome onto Good Vibrations to Slipmatt. Welcome along, mate.
Cheers, Mark. Nice to be invited onto your podcast.
No worries. So it's Matt Nelson, aka Slipmatt, right?
It is, yeah. Two T's.
Okay. And just for people that don't know what a slip mat is, maybe explain.
Yeah, the Slipmatt was when I first started. When I first got my 1200s, actually, was my first decks in about 1986. They were like the ones that everyone was scratching on, and to scratch with a record, you would need to slide on the platter. So I don't know whether slip mats were invented before that. I'm not sure actually, but the slip mat was the mat that you put on the record deck, and then you'd put your record on that, and then you could grab the record with your finger and move it backwards and forwards while the turntable was spinning underneath.
Exactly.
Hence slip mat. And then I sort of got the name. I had to come up with a name. I was going out as Matt Nelson. Was it Matt Nelson? Soul DJ, something or other, just sort of doing local gigs and that. And I was suddenly like, right, hold on, I've got some rave gigs coming up. I've got to come up with a name. And these Slipmats had DJ Slipmatt written on them. So I thought, well, my name's Matt. That'll do. Sounds good. And it
There you
stuck.
go.
And it stuck.
Yeah. So without a slip mat, you knacker your records,
I would have been
basically.
stuck. Yeah. Basically, yeah.
You rub out the grooves on the turntable there. So
Yeah.
Grandmaster Flash is credited with having invented the art of turntablism. So you wouldn't have
Yeah.
been able to do that without slip mats.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the reason we're chatting today is because besides only a very small handful of others, you're someone from the DJ, rave, sort of dance music scene who's spoken out in recent times about the dangerous directions in which society is headed. So I do want to get into all of that. Before
Yeah.
we do though, just a bit of DJ banter and comparing of notes has to be on the cards
Yeah.
because anyone who went raving in the early 90s will no doubt be familiar with your tunes, DJs Take Control, Way in My Brain, and the big one, On a Ragga Tip. So
Yeah.
you produce those as SL2, right?
Yes, me and my old schoolmate, John Fernandez, who went out as DJ Line. We were mates for sort of all through high school, and we were the two in our class that were into the dance music thing, and so we got to know each other through, we became really good mates through music. Yeah, and then after leaving school, we was like, oh, hold on a minute. It got to that era, it was sort of early 89, I think, late 88, early 89, when people were going into, it was available to go into small studios on a real budget and go and make a track. And we did, and that was it. From there, we ended up doing all these tracks, yeah.
Is he still around, Lime?
Yeah, yeah, he's still about. He's still my best mate. we chat most weeks. We chat sometimes loads. He's still running his studio. He doesn't do in person stuff now, but he does a lot of studio stuff online still from home. Yeah, he's still involved. He's coming out to Ibiza with us this summer for a few gigs and stuff.
So your Wikipedia biog says that you started out playing hip hop, and that's my background too.
I
I
know.
got turned on to rap and hip hop largely by Tim Westwood. We'll
Yeah.
maybe get into him, but it was listening to the Capital Rap Show hosted by Westwood that got me into rap and hip hop, and I wanted to become a DJ playing all that stuff. So I was known for playing rap and R&B on the radio and in clubs. I wasn't really into the rave and dance music stuff, though I
Yeah.
did keep a close eye on the scene, so I know a lot about it.
Yeah.
But I just wonder how you transitioned from rap and hip hop into the rave, breakbeat, hardcore genre for which you're best known.
Yeah, it was sort of I would say it's sort of a natural one, really. I mean, before that, I was into reggae, and like you saying, you used to listen to Westwood. I used to listen to Rodigan on
Right.
Capital, every week, for quite a few years from when I was about 13, 14. So it would have been around 79, 80, something like that. But yeah, we just went from that to through the whole electro thing into that sort of late 80s big hip hop explosion with, you know, your Public Enemy, your EPMDs, and I got right into the. I was a courier up in London around that time, and I'd be every day popping into Groove Records in Greek Street, seeing what imports had come in that day. Going to what's the one over in Holborn as well, City Sounds and stuff every day. So, and then also from '86, house music arrived. And I specifically remember going round to John's house, at the Lime's house in '86, and he'd bought Marshall Jefferson Movie Body. And he was like, Matt, listen to this. He's like, because we were playing a lot of soul music as well, mixed in with the electro stuff. And it was sort of a soulful track, but it certainly had that different beat, that house beat, which was, I just remember it sounded different. It's like, hold on, this is like, it's new. It's sort of a mixture of soul and disco, I suppose, all wrapped up, but it had a new vibe to it. I particularly remember that. And so from '86, we were buying very early house stuff. '87, sort of the acid thing sort of really started. But then because of our sort of love of hip hop and stuff and the break beats, and we were doing DMC competitions from 1988, and natural thing, especially being from the UK, I think for some reason, we just wanted to add the break beats in with the house music and create something a little bit different, which turned into rave.
Yeah. That was the amazing thing about those times, sort of mid to late 80s. DJs would play all kinds of genres. So
Yeah.
now you have DJs that just play hip hop or just play hard house or techno, whatever it is. But back then, DJs would dip into a bit of soul, a bit of funk, a bit of hip
Oh,
hop, a bit of
totally.
go-go, a bit of early house music. And it was a
Go
big
go as
melting
well.
pot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
go-go
I used
from
yeah,
Washington, D.C.
yeah. I loved a bit of that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually the early raves as well. You know, you likes of you Danny Rampins and people like that were at the early raves were playing a real mixture of stuff. You know, things like Aphrodisiac and tracks like that. It was like about 88 BPM, I think. You know,
Mm.
and then a big pop song a big sort of classic pop song might get played at the end of the night, and you know, it was a lot more. There's a lot more different styles of music being played, and that gradually, it was weird because we used to sample everything from sort of 90 onwards. We'd sample all sorts of different stuff, and then you had the squeaky vocals. You know, you might even get a bit of Dolly Parton sped up to twice the speed, but
Yeah.
it would actually sound alright because it didn't sound like Dolly Parton. And then sort of after '92, then things really started to get sort of pigeonholed. So it'd be either jungle or, you know, and that's sort of split more and more as it went through the early '90s, jungle and hardcore, and then
Mm.
garage and house and stuff. Which
Exactly.
was, but yeah, it was a bit of a shame. It feels like it's sort of come back again a little bit. Maybe as sort of my era of DJs or our era of DJs all getting a bit older. Maybe I don't know so much with the youngsters,
Mm.
but
Well, I'm
yeah,
conscious of not wanting to alienate anyone that wasn't a part of this scene or doesn't like this music, but I am enjoying wallowing in the nostalgia for a minute. So I just want
yeah,
to stay here for now. So another surprising thing is that all the big DJs who became known as pioneers of house music or acid house or rave pretty much started out playing black music. So you would find that with Carl Cox, you know, he was playing soul and funk.
mm,
And then people like Judge Jewel started out playing rare groove. Pete Tong was a sort of soul music DJ. Same thing with Danny Rampling. Pretty
yeah,
much all of them. Paul Oakenfold played hip hop. Dave Pierce played hip hop.
yeah,
And then when the dance music explosion happened, sort of late 80s, early 90s, all of these DJs seemed to embrace it, and very few stayed with the black music, just sort of Tim Westwood, Trevor Nelson, Norman Jay, people like that. But most jumped on the dance music thing as soon as that train left the station, it seems.
yeah. I suppose so. Yeah, and even myself, saying about the reggae thing, I was very much into, you know, very much sort of nearly all Jamaican really music. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I sort of. I don't like to pigeonhole stuff as white music or black music these days so much. Really, I get the black music thing and all that, but I think there's a bit too much of that. It was. You know, people argue about house music, saying well, house music is black music, and it was a big group of black people that sort of invented it over in
Like a
Chicago. No,
spin-off of disco.
no, yeah, yeah, no doubt about it. I think it was very gay as well, wasn't it? The house thing, a bit like the disco thing as well. But I personally wouldn't call house music black music these days by any means.
Yeah,
It's
not now.
no, I mean, it doesn't matter who invented it. It's music for everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you're saying though. Yeah, we were very much into that sort of black the sort of black music sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where did the sample for On a Ragga Tip come from? Where was that lifted?
That was from Jar Screechy, tracked by Jar Screechy. And I originally, or we originally, so we did the Wham of Brain track before that, and
What was the sample on that one?
that was Wayne Smith under me
Oh,
sling
Wayne
ting.
Smith. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, under me sling ting. And then we was like, right, okay, that went down so well. We've got to get another. We've got to do another reggae style track, which we loved anyway. We wanted to do it. And I had it in my head that there was a Yellow Man album I used to listen to, and it'd go and there's lots of reggae tracks that did all that. And we couldn't find. I think we sampled Yellow Man and it didn't work. And then we was looking for others. And then a close friend of ours was into a bit of reggae as well. We found the track in his collection, Walk and Skank, Jar Screechy, just on a white label. And it had that sample on it. It was like, right, that's it. That could be perfect. And we just sampled it up within probably a couple of days max. We had it all done. We had it all done at home on the little 950 Akai 950 and the Atari, and then that was ready to go when I mixed it down and wallop. It was meant to be the B side or the double A side, the flip side of the next EP, and John was actually like, hold on a minute. This there's something about this track, and then, so we went to XL, and they were sort of and ahed a bit. Nick Hawkes over there, great bloke, Richard Russell, and I was like, actually, lads, I think we should put this as the A side, and we did. Luckily for us, they agreed to it. We did, yeah.
Well, I tell you what, that is a proper banger. And that's a tune for all occasions. I think you could play that anywhere. You could play that at a wedding and get everyone up. It's just, you could drop that tune anywhere and get a great reaction.
But funny thing, I spoke to a friend of mine this morning. He said his wife went to a Trevor Nelson gig this weekend, just gone. He said there's about 3,000 or 4,000 people there, and it was all sort of R&B and garagey stuff and that. And he said the last three tracks were... It was three rave tracks. I can't remember what the other two were now. And the last track he played was on a ragga tip.
Well,
he was pissing himself. Yeah, and his wife come back. She's like, he's a right raver as well. He's a promoter and that as well. And she was like, I go to another gig and I still had to get a rave track right at the end.
Yeah. It's like Rodigan always used to drop General Levy and M-Beat. Incredible in his reggae sets.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. And you went on Top of the Pops with that tune, didn't you?
We did. We did DJ's Take Control in end of October 91, which was amazing. That was like, wow. We'd sitting there watching Top of the Pops as kids all our lives. So then we've been in a few months, excuse me, of suddenly getting signed. And then we're on Top of the Pops. It's like mental. And then, Ragga Tip, end of April 1992, we went straight in at something like number 8 or 9. And then went up to 3, and then we stayed at number 2 for 3 weeks, and we got two appearances on Top of the Pops with that one, which was
Jimmy Savile.
No, thank God. But we did, we did actually get to meet all the EastEnders cast, which was really, really good. I sat and had lunch with Doc Cotton, and we sat there just chatting like mates. Pete Bill was there as well.
Wow.
Pete Bill was on the table, was chatting with him, but I actually sat right next to Doc Cotton. She was lovely. She was absolutely lovely. We met Hattie and all the... I can't remember if you remember Hattie.
Yeah, Michelle.
And that's it. Michelle, yeah, that's it. Yeah, and her...
Michelle Gale, that's it.
All her family, that's it. Yeah. I think she became a singer, didn't she?
She did, yeah. She had a few R&B tunes.
Yeah. And that was great, yeah. That was really good. We went on to the EastEnders set. We actually... actually graffitied a bit of the East End set, broke a couple of things, and made it onto the Daily Mirror the next day. It was so funny. We didn't do a lot of damage, but it was just like a little sort of small sort of headline on there. SL2 wrecked the East Enders set at Top of the Pops.
You got
It's
stories, mate. You should
so
do a
funny.
book.
Yeah, no. I've been trying to get my book together for quite a few years now. It's sort of in the planning. It's one of the ones I've just got to get started.
Yeah.
You
Well,
can put,
starting is the worst part. Once you've
that's it.
written
Yeah,
the first page, you're
yeah,
off and running.
yeah.
Yeah. But definitely like to read a book. But you've got some stories to tell.
I've got a lot there to tell. Yeah, yeah. I've got a lot of it
You'd have
planned
to
out.
name names, though.
That's fine. That's fine. I don't care.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
what was the record that kept On a Ragga Tip off of number one? Can you remember?
that was yeah. Oh yeah, I can remember. It's a track called KWS. Please don't go.
Oh, yeah. It was a cover of Casey and the Sunshine Band, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I think we were number two, and I think Right Said Fred might have been number one with something like Deeply Dippy, I think. And we sort of, I say we knocked, so we was hoping to knock them off the number one, but Please Don't Go just came in out of nowhere, wallop. We were like,
They did a
shit.
few, didn't they? Didn't they do Baker Street and some other covers in a sort of dance music style?
Yeah, possibly, yeah. And the other thing is, I think we was over in LA at the time doing a gig, and we were sitting at number, I think we were sitting at number, might have been sitting at number three, and we had a midweek of number one on the Wednesday. For people who don't know how the charts work, you get, if you're in the business, you get a chart position on the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, set all the way through from the Wednesday. And on the Wednesday, we were number one. And we were like, no, can't believe it. And I think that was when, I could be wrong, but I think Right Said Fred then went back down. We went up to number two, and KWS went straight in at number one, and just kept us off of it. Yeah, bastards.
Happy days. So your elder brother Paul ran the Raindance events. They were one of the best known sort of
Yeah,
hardcore rave brands during the glory years, right?
yeah. That was a big sort of step up for me, really, because he was very entrepreneurial, still is, and he was, and at that time, sort of through '89, all he could see was promoters doing raves, and it was a bit illegal, and there's lots of cash knocking around, and he was like, right, okay, we need to do something here. My brother's a sort of rave DJs into all this stuff. We were running a pirate radio station, me and John and my other mates at the time up in Hackney.
What was that called?
Not for profit or anything. Raw 1044,
Okay.
Raw FM. It was just a weekend thing. We were young and just absolutely, totally into house music and rave music and bit of hip hop and decks and whatever. And two of my mates were working for, I think it's Tower Hamlets Council. I don't think they get in trouble now. It's a long time ago. And they were doing like locksmith work and metal work, welding and stuff. So they were going around putting all the metal gates on the tower blocks, the metal doors, so squatters couldn't get in and stuff. So they found a really good, a really good flat up in Hackney Marshes. I think it was on the 18th floor. Got in there, welded on a new metal gate with our own key. And we used that for a little while until we actually got busted there. We had the aerial sticking out the balcony on the 18th floor. So it was a little bit naive. We got raided, lost a set of decks, not 1200s, thank God. And then we moved up to the 20th floor in the same block, secured it even better, and run all the cables, believe it or not, up the soil pipe, up onto the main roof where you needed to get ladders and stuff to get up there, which the DTI didn't always want to be bothered with. And so you couldn't actually see any cables or anything, just our little aerial sticking on top. So we lasted up there for a couple of years, I think. And so we were doing that. Yeah, my brother was like, "Oh, hold on, I've got to look into doing a rave." So, and then Raindance was born. Yeah, 16th of September, 1989, and it was meant to be. Well, that was actually illegal. They tried sort of pulling a few sort of tricks and whatever. And they managed to stay open all night. It stayed open until midnight on the Sunday. It's quite funny actually. We had a car boot sale going on in between it. All sorts. It was proper. And then the next one, which was I think later that year, got shut down while I was actually on the decks. I can't remember what the date of that one was. And then I think it's the third one they did was the first proper legal outdoor rave with a license, beginning of 1990.
Yeah. I've got a scene just like that in my novel, The Cause and the Cure, which is
All right.
truth fiction. So it's set in 1990 and 91
Yeah.
in Oxford. And I've got a scene sort of around midsummer, summer solstice 1990, where there's a rave on Milton Common, which I think is where one of the sunrise raves took
Rings a bell.
place.
Yeah.
And the rave gets busted, in the middle of the night, which used to happen a lot. And rave promoters and pirate radio station proprietors had to be so resourceful in those days with how they powered their systems and all the cabling and all the equipment that would get used, cobbling together bits and pieces. And it's just a bygone era now. Everything's just so simple with the internet. But back then it was much more complex to make these things happen.
Yeah, we had bleepers and stuff like that. Bleepers. Get a bleep and you have to go down to the payphone and go bring them back. The number that appeared.
Yeah,
whatever,
pages.
Pages and stuff. It's pages, wasn't it? With the pirates. We were using pages first of all, with just messages,
And the way raves used to be promoted, the full venue would not be given. You'd have a number to call, 0860 or something. And on the night of the rave, you would only then find out where it was taking place to throw the police off the track. I mean, it's crazy the way things used to have to be done.
It was such a big phenomenon, wasn't it? It was such a big scene all of a sudden because it was so different and whatever. It just caught on. So doing that sort of thing was fine because there was just so many thousands of people. I remember going to a biology and we couldn't even get in. It pissed down with rain and we got stuck down this country lane, and then just everyone comes to a standstill. We couldn't even get out. Sat there in the rain for about 2 hours, I think. And as soon as something moved behind, we turned around and went home. Yeah, crazy times, but it's a great time to live through.
Crazy times, but great times, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're probably aware that in my books and talks, I've drawn parallels between the 60s counterculture scene, the sort of hippie flower power thing, and the late 80s acid house scene in the UK. And I've suggested that they both represent, to a very large extent, social engineering psyops. So there's multiple evidence to back this up when it comes to the 60s scene, all the LSD coming through CIA supply lines. There's documentation to prove that was the case. Then many of the counterculture heroes, these bands like the Grateful Dead and Dr. Timothy Leary, have direct CIA connections. But it's more difficult to prove with the UK scene. I just suspect it to have been infiltrated to a large extent and steered off in certain directions. It's just more difficult to get the actual proof of that. So is there any suspicion on your part that it might not have been entirely organic and grassroots?
Well, the thing is, I was oblivious to all that back in the day. I wouldn't have had a clue about anything like that. So from back in the day, I wouldn't have thought so personally. But within other sort of, from my level, from just being a DJ, a young DJ, trying to get a few gigs and help my brother out doing a dodgy rave to start with, and pirate, I wouldn't have seen anything like that, and I certainly wouldn't have really been that conscious about it. But it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, in recent years, I'm just baffled. I've heard you speak about it recently, but just baffled with the actions of some of the bigger DJs, and it's like they're not skint. There's some of these people that are just going with the sort of narratives that some of us realise aren't right, and they're really not right, whatever way you look at them. Why aren't they doing anything, or why are they going with it? So I can't say that from back in the day I noticed anything, but I certainly notice things now. It's really, really big name DJs encouraging people to go and get the old before they
Arm
go
steer.
out. And yeah, it's really,
Yeah.
what the fuck's it got to do with them?
Yeah.
But then, you know, some of these people have sort of been really good mates with. Why would you do that? Especially being ravers as well. You know, aren't we like the people that have, you know, a bit of freedom and, you know, we just want to dance, want to party,
Well, exactly.
don't want to annoy anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. How widespread on the hardcore scene was Ecstasy back in the day? Because I know it was a big thing in the early days of acid house, and then in the super club era when sort of Cream and Gatecrasher and Ministry of Sound brands like that got off the ground. E was a big thing. I don't know how widespread it was in the scene
Yeah.
that you were a part of, or were there other drugs doing the rounds on that scene?
I never really noticed any other drugs. To be honest, I'll be totally honest with you. I didn't even try an E until 1996, which a lot of people can't believe. They're like, really? What, you went all through 90, 91, 92? And I was like, yeah, I used to like to drink. And, you know, we did the old sort of rock and roll thing even through 92 and that. We'd take advantage of hotels and have a right old laugh at that. I was probably because I was so busy doing stuff. I've been very entrepreneurial myself, very much sort of on, you know, keep my mind on the business things and trying to do my best. So, driving up and down the motorway, you know, every weekend, sometimes doing like, you know, 5, 6 gigs a weekend plus, and then flying around all over the place. I think work was more important to me.
Yeah.
That's probably the basics of it. And then I went to Ibiza, not for the first time, but I went to Ibiza with a load of mates. We did, I think it was United Dance, or maybe something to do with M8 magazine or something. I don't know. And I just thought to myself, oh, do you know what? Let's have a go. Let's have a little go. And it was one of the funniest experiences ever. And so I had a little dabble sort of from then, you know. I never really went too mad on it. I don't do anything like that anymore. But through certainly back to the main question, certainly through that era, yeah, people were doing lots of pills, lots of speed, and that as well. I think.
Yeah.
Used to get my ear holes chewed off at every venue I went in. Didn't really notice any cocaine or anything like that though. Not until later years. I didn't really that wasn't on my radar. I didn't see anything like that. I just
Right.
knew that lots of people were doing ecstasy.
Well, these raves were all night till 6, 7, 8 in the morning, so
Yeah,
something has to keep you going all that time.
yeah. I don't see anything wrong with it, to be honest with you. Not, you know, I don't condone drugs in general, but you know,
Yeah, well,
doing a pill
me
is better.
neither.
It's better than doing you know, some of the other things that people go out and do. So,
Yeah.
and people are going to do something. So, you know, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying go out and do it,
Mm.
but you know,
Well, personal choice, free will
exactly,
choice.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the main things that links that 60s counterculture scene with the 80s one for me is
Mm.
the widespread availability of the drugs. So it was LSD in the 60s, it was ecstasy in the late 80s going into the 90s.
Yeah.
And I just wonder where all the pills came from because there was just like an explosion of
Mm.
pills in all
Mm.
these raves and all these clubs, and very few people getting busted, a few smaller low level dealers, but not really any drugs barons. And there are a few connections to the sort of Oxbridge posh public school network and the suggestion of some sort of government involvement in some of the supply lines that I've come across. So that's the main connecting factor, which leads me to suspect that this may have been infiltrated in the same way as the 60s scene was
Wouldn't
to
surprise.
prop up certain agendas.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it's just for the profit. These politicians these days.
Yeah.
I don't know. My other sort of take on the way they closed it all down though is everyone was loving each other. Even the big one that everyone always says is the football. Football. I mean, you know, I was out clubbing through the 80s, and there was so many fights and stuff at these clubs. Luckily, I didn't really get involved in anything sort of
Mm.
too bad. I've been around when a few mates have got in fights and stuff, and it managed to sort of get away from it. But there were some nasty old fights, and I used to go clubbing sort of around North and East London a fair bit, up to like the Ritzy in Tottenham, and I can remember there being blood all over the mirrors in there, like, you know, multiple times, and people getting glass and stuff. It wasn't like a riot every weekend, but it was certainly a very, very different attitude.
Yeah.
One of my mates got stabbed and got nearly killed outside Elton's, I think, in Tottenham. I'd been threatened a few times when I was a real nipper. And then, you know, and the football thing was going off in the 80s, wasn't it? All the fights and organised
Yeah.
stuff.
Rival firms.
Yeah, yeah. And that finished. And, you know, the big story is that, you know, people were suddenly sort of hugging and and being friendly on the terraces. And all the clubs, a lot of the clubs actually sort of started getting in trouble and actually turned themselves into raves because they weren't getting any punters through for the, you know, for the sort of commercial clubs. And it just all turned to, like, you know, everyone was friends again and loving each other.
Loved
And
up.
I wonder whether the government actually didn't like that, because from what we see now, all these different things coming through
Hmm.
that we know is to sort of try and divide us. Part of me wonders whether, you know, the government or the people that are trying to push these agendas or that are pushing them would then sort of suddenly thought, hold on a minute, what's going on here? We can't have this. We've got to shut this. You know,
Yeah.
got to shut this down.
Well, you have to wonder. Maybe it
Yeah,
was a social experiment that
yeah,
perhaps backfired in some way. So,
possibly.
if the government or the establishment were putting all the drugs into the scene in the first place, maybe all the unity and togetherness that it caused is
Yeah,
something they didn't want and they had to
yeah,
shut that down.
yeah, yeah. That
Yeah,
could be it. Yeah, yeah, most
yeah, quite
definitely.
possibly.
Mm.
And would you say, when you look back on those times, are your memories bittersweet in any way? Is it like a mix of emotions, or is it pure nostalgia and like wonderful memories of great times?
Yeah, no, it's wonderful memories of great times.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it
You
is for me
know,
too, pretty much.
yeah. All life has ups and downs, doesn't it? You know, there was some shitty bits as well, I suppose, but not many. No, the actual general. I look back at it um in a very, very fond way, very,
Yeah,
very fond way indeed. I'd love to go back for a little while just
yeah,
to experience it again and maybe experience it a bit more.
yeah. I think we all
But,
would.
yeah.
Is it ever painful for you in any way to listen to the old tunes and have all the old memories evoked and realize that those times are gone? Do you ever like feel that way about it?
Um, I wouldn't say painful, but it's yeah.
It's just a shame.
It's a shame that the youngsters these days can't experience it the way we did.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's all. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I still highly suspect many aspects of those times of being government sponsored psyops, but at the same time, we had so much fun. They
yeah,
were wonderful times. The tunes were amazing.
yeah.
And whenever I hear a tune from that time, it just transports me right back to a wonderful place in my life. And I actually feel sorry for the generations that came after us that they will never experience such amazing transcendental times as we did.
Exactly that. Yeah, yeah. And
Mm.
there's, you know, so many restrictions these days. And that I was chatting to someone the other day about we talked about phones and it's like we didn't have camera phones. He said until about 2003. I'm like, wow. Well,
We
like
didn't have any
video
phones.
phones. No, no.
You used to have to go to a call box in the street to make a phone
well,
call.
well, yeah, yeah. I think I was getting mixed up, and I said, no, I'm sure I had a camera on my phone in '96. He's like, no, not till the two. I was like, no, that was texting, and even then, people weren't really texting. I think we could just about do a text in '96 or something. I probably got my dates a bit wrong,
That
but
sounds about right.
yeah, but
96.
how simple it was, you know, not to be bugged all the time with phone and not to have to.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's part of me getting older, I suppose, and actually knowing that area. I suppose the kids now or the youngsters now don't actually even know that, so it doesn't bother them, does it?
Yeah. I mean, my
But
daughters can't believe that I grew up in an era before phones where you'd actually go
yeah,
out with no phone
yeah.
and you could just enjoy yourself and have great fun with your friends. And they just can't conceive of
You
life
see,
being like that.
it seems mad, doesn't it? You can only get hold of your mate if you ring them on their house phone, and they
Yeah.
might not be in, or you know.
Leave a message with his mum if he's out.
Yeah, yeah. So different, so different. And it's just the world's sped up and everything's so fast.
Yeah,
If we can only slow it down a bit.
exactly.
Yeah.
I do often wonder whether that was part of the psyop to give an entire generation such wonderful times for a few short years, only
Yeah.
to then cruelly pull the rug from under them. So
Mm.
the good times and the good tunes went away, and it would have been very difficult for many to have coped with the absence of them. So, young people that were going out raving in the early 90s, when the sounds started to change and they got a bit older and real life started to kick in, just to readjust to the harsh realities and the responsibilities of life as we advance in age. You can't
Mm.
party at raves forever. Eventually, real life kicks in. And
Yeah.
I sometimes wonder if those good times were gifted to us so that when they were no longer there, it would be too crushing and too difficult for many to be able to deal with.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it could be something like that. Yeah. I mean, at the moment, it seems to be this sort of 10-year plan, doesn't it? 2020 to 2030. Well,
Yeah.
that's what I'm seeing. Maybe part of their plan was 2000 to
I think they might be running behind schedule
2010.
a bit.
I think you're probably right. Yeah, yeah. But the 9/11 thing was 2001, wasn't it? It was the
Yeah.
beginning of the 2000s, and then surveillance upped, got upped massively, and stuff, security.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, we're
The
getting to
rug,
some of
the
that.
rug, the rug. Yeah, the rug started to get pulled.
Yeah. One very noticeable thing for me is that the early raves all had brand names that evoked spiritual, mystical, ecological, esoteric themes.
Yeah,
So you had Sunrise, A Midsummer Night's Dream was one of theirs, held on the summer solstice of 89, I think it was. Raindance, your brother's
mm,
brand,
mm,
Storm, Biology, Pandemonium. They all have these themes. And also the flyers would often feature similar themes. You'd see
yeah,
eclipses, planetary conjunctions, pyramids, rainforests, and you'd have tracks like The Beloved, The Sun Rising. That was a big one
yeah,
at raves, as day broke, an ode to the sun. And then tunes like Opus 3, It's a Fine Day, The Shaman's Boss Drum. So you're just getting into these spiritual, mystical sort of themes. And that seemed to be a big part of those early raves.
yeah. It was. Yeah, I don't know, but maybe that was just a fad thing or a fashion thing. I had someone else ask me that actually quite a few months ago now. Young lady, and she was like, "Do you see any sort of connection between all this or a reason
Is that Lou
behind it?"
Collins?
No, not Lou. I know Lou very well. It
Yeah.
wasn't her. Yeah, it's someone else.
All right.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I
It
don't know
just
because I
makes me
know
wonder.
because I know a lot of these people, and I know that
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure they're not sort of linked with anything sort of secret. Um,
It just makes me wonder how many rave promoters and producers of these records were clued in on what the agenda may have been, if there was
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there must have been sort of things going on then, agendas going on then that people knew of. I mean, there's been stuff going on all the way through the 20th century, I'm sure.
That's right.
Um, so yeah, you're probably right. They're probably some of these people might have been clued up to stuff, and that could have swayed the name for their rave and the artwork.
Mm.
Most definitely, yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
So, working as a producer, did you learn early on about different sound frequencies and what sound could be used for and the effects that different frequencies can have on people hearing them? Was that a part of your journey as a producer?
Not really. Only just getting the bass nice and loud, and getting the EQ so it sounded loud.
Making sure it's a
Um,
banger.
yeah, I was. To be honest with you, I was never really a musician. I was always interested in putting sounds together, even at a very young age, like 10 or 11. I was. I'd have a real like. Fortunately for me, my dad managed to get a reel to reel from work. So I had this reel to reel that you could record each 4 tracks on separately and listen back and sort of mix it as well. So I used to do all sorts of different things, bash things as drums and put little bits of music together. So I was always very, very interested in creating sounds, but I was never a musician. I should have actually learnt music at a young age, I think, really. Probably would have done me well, and I still haven't done it properly now. I just sort of know what sounds right to me.
Yeah.
I've got a little bit of an understanding, but I should even now. I should really go and get some proper piano lessons and learn how to play the keyboard properly.
Yeah.
But I don't. I'm just always too busy. Always an excuse.
Yeah. Did you find it relatively easy to make the tunes, or was it quite a complex process?
Nah, pretty easy, really. Pretty easy. We very much knew what we wanted. I always give the example of DJs take control. Me and John actually remember being at Raindance and thinking, right, we were watching what was going down. This is sort of early '91. I'm thinking, right, we need to get the dirtiest of break beats with a heavy 4/4 kick underneath and just the biggest euphoric sound we can get to just cut in like bang, just to cut in as sharp as possible. And we went off and made DJs take control, which was exactly that. The breakbeat in it was like full of crackles and just dirty. Big kick, big bass line, and then into the big euphoric let the music, and then played it at Raindance, and it worked. It was like, yes, but did exactly it. And then like we played it a few more venues, and then at the next Raindance, which was 6 weeks later, whatever, and it just went off. Absolutely went off.
Yeah.
So we sort of knew what we want, and it was like, right, okay, get it done. Get it done. I think we did that track in a day. I think really a bit of planning at home. We actually went into a proper studio and made that one in the early '91. Yeah.
So others from the dance music DJ scene have really disappointed me since 2020.
I know. I've seen a couple of
Yeah.
a couple of things where yeah.
Well, you alluded to it earlier, and I appreciate you might not want to name names because I know you're still active on the scene, but I've got no problem naming names, so I'll say it. Carl Cox is an obvious one. He did an ad promoting the old arm spear.
No.
Almost certainly paid off to do so, or just owned and directed to do it.
That's the thing. Were they paid off? That's the thing that intrigues me.
Mm.
Because if they were paid off,
Well, it's despicable to me.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Another one is Mr. C from The Shaman, who was passionately pushing the arm spear in the early days, and he was calling out. Well, he was pushing the official COVID narrative, and he was telling people to stay indoors. He was saying anyone that had people around their house or these little illegal raves was putting people at risk and killing people, and just bigging up Bill Gates and saying Bill Gates should be president. And he was serious about it. He actually meant it.
I know Richard. Yeah, and he's he's a friend of mine, and it doesn't make sense to me either. It really doesn't.
Yeah, so
really doesn't make sense. Yeah,
he was doing a lot of harm, in my view, in pushing those messages. And I had a little online spat with him, so he discovered something I'd said about him, and he came at me, and we went back and forth for a bit. Another one was Bushwhacker, of Leo and Bushwhacker, and he seems to have had a complete change of heart when it comes to the arm spear holocaust, because he started out like Mr. C, absolutely passionately, ardently pushing it, and then for some reason at some point he did a complete about turn and he started sharing data about how dangerous these things were and all the death rates and things like this.
I think
So that was a surprise.
I think I remember that. It's funny. Matthew B used to do the rain dances when they first started. He was only 16. He was one of the first DJs for Raindance. But yeah, I remember. So I know Matthew as well. I don't know. I know Mr. C better than I know Matthew, but I remember seeing that actually. I remember seeing him coming out on Facebook and sort of saying, "Hold on a minute." And he's some sort of doctor as well. He's got some sort of medical background as well that he's doing. I can't remember exactly what. I know he was doing something up in Harley Street.
Yeah.
So maybe something to do with that enlightened him as to a bit more truth about what's going on.
Maybe. Or
Yeah.
sometimes it has to hit very close to home. It's got to be somebody that you know personally who ends up suffering, and that really causes you to wake up more powerfully than anything else, I find.
Yeah, totally. 100%. Yeah. Just listening to what other people say. It depends what your mindset's like. Some people don't take any notice of what anyone else says, do they?
Yeah. Well, Mr. C don't. And then there's others like Danny Rampling that have been bang on it from the start. You know, Danny's been very outspoken.
Passionate. Yeah, very passionate about
And Norris the Boss Windross, I want to do
Yeah.
a show with him. He
Lovely
knows what's
fella.
going on. He's
Lovely
clued
bloke.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, why do you feel more DJs and producers from the dance music scene haven't spoken out about the obvious and blatant tyranny that we're all living under? Are they just blissfully naive and unaware? They've not done the research? Are their brains addled from too many drugs back in the day? Are they just cowards looking out for their own careers? Or are they completely controlled by the industry and forbidden from speaking out? Or is it a bit of all of the above? And it depends on the
Yeah.
individual.
I don't, I find it so hard. I mean, the thing is, I didn't wake up until, I didn't wake up until it until sort of around May or probably May, June 2020. I was sort of oblivious to sort of what was going on with it. I thought it was very strange. But it took me a while. It took me a while to wake up to what was going on. And then thing is, once you see certain things, you can't unsee them.
Exactly. So what you were like, there was a point where you were like, hang on a minute, this don't look right to me.
Yeah, I'll tell you what it was. It was actually the when all the BLM stuff started, and it wasn't just because it was BLM or whatever, but I remember seeing something on the news and them talking about it, and whatever they said, I knew for a fact that it was a complete lie. What the bloke was saying, it was a complete lie, and he was missing out bits of the facts as well. And it whatever it was he said, it was one of the BBC One news readers. It was like a pivotal moment. I was like, hold on a minute, you're really not. And don't get me wrong, I haven't sort of lived my life up to that point believing the BBC or whatever, but nothing really affected me that much. I was quite happy to get along doing my thing, you know, take responsibility for myself. Yeah, there's a lot of weirdos out there, a lot of nasty people out there, you know, in government and this, that, and the other. But that, I suppose, the fact of being locked down as well at the time, that was like, hold on a minute, that ain't right. And then from that, at the same time, I started looking on the WEF website, and then started finding all this communism stuff and Marxist stuff.
What put you onto that?
I think it was around that time, because I think when the BLM thing started, for some reason I looked on the WEF website, and they had lots of stuff supporting the BLM and that as well. And then it was a real awkward time, because I've got a lot of black friends, stuff, lots and lots of black friends. You know, some of my best mates are black, and I could see not my best mates, but a lot of people seem maybe it's in my mind as well, but they seem to be turning on their white friends, sort of saying, "Hold on a minute, you know what's going on," and it was just a real, I don't know, it's just a real horrible time, and everything changed for me then. And then from from looking at the WF website, I then sort of noticed all this great reset stuff going on, and just got stuck right into it, and sort of went from there, and just realised that we were being led into something really nefarious.
Down the dangerous road. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you attend any of the London marches?
I did. Yep,
Yeah.
I did 2 or 3 of them. I did one really big one. Can't remember the date. I think it was
2021, probably spring.
I think it was around May. I think
Yeah.
May 20. Yeah,
May 21. That was the best one of all. That
Yeah.
was amazing.
Yeah,
Just incredible.
a few of us went up there. That was really, really good.
Well, a million or so.
No, a few of my crowd and that as well. A few ravers met us up there as well, which was nice.
Yeah, good.
But going back to the DJs and that, yeah, it's weird. You know, I've got there's hardly any, to be honest with you. I have 1 or 2 of my sort of closer DJ friends, like, you know, that are on the circuit. They get it.
Yeah, I wonder if you have private conversations with others that would indicate that they know what's going on, but they just don't speak out about it.
I do, but it's very few. Very, very few. Very few indeed. And that I don't get it. I don't get it from what I don't either. From what I can see. Why are these people not seeing it as well, or why they? You know, it's not just that looks a little bit wonky to me. It's like the whole thing. he's like, it's like everything about what's going on, the transfer of wealth and all this stuff. Why are they not actually saying, right, this ain't no good? Okay, let's all stick together and we'll
Yeah.
tell these people to F off. But it's not happening. Is the psyop so powerful? This military grade stuff that's going on, is it really that powerful? I mean, I've read that they've spent literally hundreds of millions on brainwashing us.
Psychologists and such.
Yeah, yeah. But I did the book. I can't remember her name now. She's linked in with the Together Declaration. Like she did a book on all about all about the psyop stuff and about the brainwashing. So I can't remember what the book's called now. I'll try and find it.
Well, the mind control runs very deep and it is military grade, but
Yeah.
it's so disappointing to me that those that used to organize and perform at illegal raves, and back in the day they were sticking two fingers up at the establishment, and at the time they would have been viewed as rebels, anti-establishment, anarchists, yet most of the very same characters
Billy
have been
Bragg.
passionately promoting the arms spears and
Yeah.
saying absolutely nothing about the tyranny that we're so obviously headed towards. We've needed true rebels and anarchists more than ever since 2020. But where have all these characters been?
Yeah.
Not just ravers and people from that scene, but punk rockers and heavy rockers, where have all these guys been? They
Yeah.
like to position themselves as supposed anarchists and bad boys of rock, but not a bloody peep has been heard from any of them.
Yeah,
So
no,
all the work,
Billy Bragg was a big one, wasn't he?
well, he's saying wear your mask.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Why?
yeah. And just so disappointing. Where's Paul Weller? Where's he been?
Mm.
Where have any of them been? Morris has said a couple of things, but not enough in my view. Johnny Rotten, nothing.
Yeah, yeah. So I then go back to thinking, is it purely because these people are worried about their wages, about their income?
It's either that
I don't know.
or they just are controlled to such a degree that they know if they were to speak out and say what's really on their mind, there would be very heavy consequences for them. This would have been made very clear to them.
Yeah, yeah, especially with the famous ones, with the famous ones like we've just been mentioning.
Mm.
The big ones in the industry, yes, I think so. Yeah, I'm sure some of them must have been paid off.
Yeah,
They must have been, but going back to the like my circuit and stuff like that, with just your rave DJs and your dance music DJs, I think a lot of them are probably scared to lose their money. I think to lose their gigs, possibly. I don't know. I don't think I've lost any gigs over sort of. I don't go out there screaming and shouting at people and telling people what to do. But I try and make my opinions fairly clear and show my true values.
yeah,
And nothing's going to stop me doing that. I've done a lot of work on myself with that over the years, and I've got to stick to my word.
yeah. Yeah, good to
So
you.
yeah,
It's certainly sorting the sheep from the goats. We're getting to know what camp everyone is in these times.
yeah.
It's sending that very clear message. So, how deeply would you say you've personally dived into the rabbit hole of the New World Order agenda? Are you right down that rabbit hole to the point that you're never getting out again?
Oh yeah. Oh no, I'll never get out again. I don't go to. I try to keep myself not too sort of extreme with it all. I do hear some stuff, and I think, yeah, it may be going a bit too far. But then, maybe I try and keep myself like that. There are certain things that I then hear that I find out that are true, and I just think it blows your mind. Absolutely blows your mind.
Yeah,
I see people like Bill Gates and stuff. He's just absolute wrong 'un, but he's so yeah, he's so clever. Obviously, I don't know him, but from what I can see, he's just so clever, planning so far in advance. He's now the biggest landowner or biggest agricultural landowner in the USA, and
well, ask Mr. C about him. He's probably got his private number.
I don't want to pick on Mr. C because I do know him. He's a mate of mine, but I'd certainly, and he knows this. I certainly don't agree with his with his politics
Yeah.
and his beliefs now.
Okay.
Um, yeah, no, I was to say, but people like Bill Gates, it's people not see what he's doing. He's a clever bloke, yeah, but you got to be more clever than that. If you just follow what's going on, I watched a great documentary last night, actually. What's it? Stakeholder Communism. It's just come out. I can't remember the bloke who's done it. It's actually still on YouTube at the moment. It sort of explains all what's going on um, with taking down capitalism and basically turning it into state capitalism, which is communism,
Hmm.
or trying to bring the two together. But basically, it's a new version of communism. And all these people are all wrapped up in that. It really sort of explains, really explained to me what's going on. It gave a good sort of overview of what's happening, and it shows it as a 10-year plan from sort of 2020, which is obviously when the pandemic started, up
Yeah.
to 2030, which is a date they keep going on about, and we're sort of over a third into it, and so much has happened. Transfer of wealth, lots of it's happened already. All the small companies, the state of our country now. Poor kids growing up. No one's, if it carries on like this, no one's going to be able to own a property.
Hmm.
It's
Well, it's if we collectively allow it. If we
exactly.
just sit back and do nothing and say nothing, then it's going to happen. But
Yeah,
if we come together in our massive numbers, like we used to back in the day, this is the thing about the raves. It used to
yeah,
have that spirit of togetherness and unity, and there were
yeah.
huge numbers of people turning up to these events. Where did all that energy go? Where did all that passion go? All that love, that care? Just imagine if all that was channeled into something that really mattered in these times,
Mm.
turning this nonsense around.
Yeah, and why are the people not seeing it?
Yeah.
Why are they not seeing it? The people are suffering now as well. I don't mean suffering, they're suffering in the way that people haven't got as much money at the moment. I know they haven't. Can tell just from business. Everyone I talk to, no one's got as much money at the moment.
That's right.
And normally when it hits people in the pocket is when they start to respond.
Hmm.
Don't know. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Like you say, you're here to spread the word and to try and let as many people know as possible.
Yeah. Well, we do what we can. Just
Absolutely.
circling back around to music and productions and such, I asked you earlier about sound frequencies.
Yeah.
Everything now is produced electronically, digitally. We were reminiscing earlier about the analog era, reel to reel tape and vinyl records and things like this, but it's
Yeah.
all done by computers now. Do you feel that there could be dangerous elements to electronic dance music that's now getting produced, given that there's the potential to strip in unseen elements into digital recordings,
No,
you know,
no doubt. So
bad frequencies and such?
yeah, I'm sure Hollywood are doing it with their films and
Yeah.
stuff. In fact, that's a thing, I think, isn't it? With Hollywood, with their films, putting certain frequencies
Yeah.
in the soundtrack and stuff, and then subliminal, flickery images and stuff.
Yeah.
But
Subliminal
yeah,
imaging.
yeah, I mean, the way the big music business, not the dance music thing that I'm involved in, but the bigger side of it, no doubt at all that they're putting messages into it and stuff, or certain frequencies to conjure up certain
Yeah.
feelings. Yeah,
I mean, a lot of it just sounds horrible to me now. And it's not just because I'm an old bastard. It's because it's just terrible. It's just toxic. It's satanic, and it just screams out that to me. I can just hear a new track now, and it just sounds uh, horrible. Just have to shut
yeah.
it
I mean,
off.
some of these artists from probably more from America, I think, but I don't know. I don't really take much notice of pop music these days, to be honest.
Mm.
But some of the artists I've seen over the last few years is absolute filth. Some of it. It's
And
just,
just where so-called hip hop is gone, because we come from that golden era. We remember when that genre made sense. What now goes out under the brand of rap and hip hop? It's just straight satanic garbage. It's just unbelievable
yeah,
what they're pushing.
yeah, and the people are getting getting it pushed on them, which is probably another agenda, I suppose.
Well, it will be, yeah. There's kids whose idea of what hip hop represents comes from Future and bloody Little Nas X and all these jokers and clowns, New Age Jerk Boy and Young Thug and jokers like this.
Yeah, and it's if you just sort of breeze on through life, you probably don't notice, which is what I've done through most of my time. But like I say, once you sort of once you see what is actually going on, some of the things that are actually happening, then it makes you question the rest of it. And it's
Mm.
yeah, funny old game, isn't it?
Funny
Funny
old
old
life,
world.
it turns out.
It is, yeah, it is, yeah. And actually, the more, as it goes, as time goes on, I'm seeing more and more and more, and it's like really. Really?
This lark we call life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's nothing like I thought it was back in the day. You know, I remember 2019 thinking, yeah, things are really good. You know, things
Yeah.
good.
2020
But
is going to be a great year. That's what I thought.
it was, I think. But I think right at the beginning of 2020, I had about 100 gigs booked into my diary,
Yeah.
and it was looking really, really positive. And I was like, right, yeah, you know, put my money up a little bit and this is going really well. Everyone's sort of lovely. Everyone's getting on. Like the
Yeah.
business is booming. Things are on the up.
Along comes March.
And then wallop. And it's just gone. You know, don't get me wrong. I've had a really busy few years. And this year's really busy for me as well. But in general, you know, fuck, mate, what a few years.
I
What a
know.
time to live through. So it's
I know,
mental.
right?
I do feel a lot of people say it does feel like we're in World War Three, but it's a completely different type of thing to what we imagine World War One and Two to be like.
Yep. No tanks and machine guns in this one.
Nah, nah. But
So,
it's just, I think
mm,
the really hard thing for me, thing I really don't like is the trust. It's like, you know, I'm not that naive to think that the government's always told us the truth, and you know, I'm a normal sort of average sort of person. I get all that, but the trust has just absolutely gone since middle of 2020. It's just gone, and it's just getting worse. Everything is. I can't watch telly anymore. I just can't watch like not you know, mainstream telly anymore. I can't listen to the news,
yeah,
anything, which I used to take it with a pinch of salt. But I look at the people on the TV in disgust.
you just see the programming everywhere, don't you?
Yeah, and you know, even the sort of people that are sort of seem half decent on there, you know that they're working for people that aren't half decent. You think, where's your morals? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So you still play out on the circuit at festivals and such a fair bit?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, loads. I'm just pretty much flat out from right through to the end of the year. Um,
Do you find you're getting booked now for events with more of a truth and freedom kind of ethos? Because I see we're both on the bill at Sounds Beautiful in Wimborne in June, and then the Hope Freedom Music Festival in August. So are you getting more bookings at those types of events?
I am, yeah. I've got another couple of bits like that. I've had, I think I don't have one right up north that I couldn't make. Yeah, and it's quite nice actually. I think these people, these parties are getting a little bit of aggro off of some extremists and stuff as well, actually, at the moment. Which I don't know why. I mean, sounds beautiful. Maybe these people don't like certain people that are getting booked at them or whatever. That's nothing to do with me
Mm,
at all. But yeah, no, I am. Yeah, I am, and it's nice to be nice to actually be sort of acknowledged as being one of the people that are trying to be nice to this world,
yeah.
you know, and actually got a bit of a conscience.
I see LSD is on the Hope Freedom bill. He was there
Yeah,
last year as well. He's a name from back in the day.
yeah. I think LSD. I think Roy's probably quite clued up. We don't really chat about what we're chatting about now, but you know, he's very
I think he
quite
must be
quite
clued
sort of,
up, or they wouldn't have booked him for that event, to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah. Fades is another one. Fades knows the score. I don't know if you've heard of DJ Fades.
I know of him, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he's a decent fella. He's a really nice bloke, good mate of mine. He's pretty clued up.
I heard Grant Nelson sort of knows what's going on as well.
I've heard a whisper about that as well. Yeah, I see him on his Instagram. He's quite funny, and he Grant.
I
Um,
don't know him personally, but
I, I haven't spoken to him for years, for a long, long time. I do know him, but yeah, he's a wild character.
Makes
Yeah,
good tunes.
yeah, brilliant. Yeah, and it nice that Norris is so clued up as well.
Yeah, I want to get Norris on. I
Nice.
must have
Yeah,
a conversation with him soon.
yeah, he's great. Nice.
Yeah. All right then, mate. Well, I think we're about done. So thank you for coming on today.
No, my pleasure. Great to speak to you, Mark. Actually, yeah.
And I'll see you a couple of times during the summer at those
I want,
festivals, no doubt.
yes, yeah, most definitely. I want to come to one of your shows as well. I do keep an eye on where you're talking and stuff. Where I'm so busy, it's just not worked out. Um,
Hmm.
possible yet, but I'll keep an eye on your schedule, and I'll come to one of your live
Well, I do a
talks.
fair few of them, you may
Yep,
have heard. So,
yep, yep,
yeah, keep an eye on my events page on the website, and I'm
yep.
sure you'll find one that you can
I will
attend
do
at
it.
some point.
I'm on your mailing list and stuff, so
All
I'll
right,
get that
cool.
through. Wicked, lovely. Thanks, Mark.
All right, thanks for coming on today.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.